Amen. Where are we at this evening? Genesis chapter 43. Right? What happened in 42? Get your minds engaged. What happened last week? 42. Came to Joseph. They went to Egypt. Okay. Told them to bring the brother back. Okay. Gave him all the money back. Gave him some food too, right? Okay. And what else happened? The dad was mad. It's true, the dad was mad. And somebody stood up and said, "Hey, I'll take it on, whatever. Make sure that Benjamin comes back." No, he stayed. Reuben said it, right? Said, "I'll take my sons." Spoke up saying, "Kill my 2 sons if I don't bring him back," right? Okay, so now we enter into chapter 43, and it says, "Now the famine was severe in the land, and it came to pass when they had eaten up the grain which they had bought from Egypt, or brought from Egypt, that their father said to them, 'Go back and buy us a little more food.'" Okay, so some time has passed, right? Everything that they had bought and brought back from Egypt, they have gone through. They have gone through the grain, and so some time has passed here. And so the father now is telling them to go and to buy some more. See if you can buy some more, right? But what's the problem? Huh? That wasn't the agreement. What was the agreement? That they got to take Benjamin back, right? Okay, but Judah spoke up to him, right? Saying, "The man solemnly warned us, saying, 'You shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother with us, we will go and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you.'" So now we have somebody else that is standing up, right? It's a different brother this time. And now he's speaking up. "And Israel said, 'Why did you deal so wrongfully with me as to tell the man whether you still had another brother?' But they said, 'The man asked us pointedly about ourselves and our father, saying, Is your father still alive? Have you another brother?' And we told him according to these words. Could we have possibly known that he would say, 'Bring your brother down'?" So it's interesting that he asked very specific questions, didn't he? And they still had no clue. But it wasn't just that he was talking with them and he kind of looks like them, right? He was dressed differently. He's older. And what else did he have? He was speaking in another language. He had an interpreter there. So remember, every time that he's talking to them, he's got this interpreter. And these were very point blank questions because Joseph knew what he was doing, didn't he? Then Judah said to Israel, his father, "Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I myself will be a surety for him. For my hand you shall require him, if I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not lingered, surely by now we would have returned this second time." Okay, so what is he saying right here? I know sometimes the language can be a little off and it's hard to understand what's going on here. But basically, he's... go ahead. That's right. He's saying we would have already been there and back, what? Twice already. We could have already made this trip twice. How long is this trip? 6 weeks, right? So they already spent 6 weeks to go down there once, 2 times, right? It's a 6-week journey there, a 6-week journey back. Okay, so you go 6 more weeks, 6 times 4. 6 times 4, right? He's saying, hey, we could have done this twice already. So how much time has passed? 5 to 6 months? Yeah? Yeah, 5 to 6 months have passed, right? And so they've gotten down. Okay, now he's getting to the point here that he's saying to his father that we will go, that we may live and not die, both you and also our little. So he's basically saying, look, if you don't send us, we're all going to die. It doesn't matter about Benjamin anymore. Right? We're all going to die. You, me, the little ones, it's over. You've got to do something. You got to let us take Benjamin, right? And that's basically what he's saying here. He's saying, look, even if I don't, I'll take the blame. The father's over the children, protection over the children. He's saying, look, I'll take your place. I'll take the blame if it goes down to it. But we're all going to die here. And their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best fruits of the land in your vessels and carry down a present for the man. A little balm, a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. So they did have some stuff, didn't they? But not enough to live off of. They didn't have grain for bread and different things, right? They did have some stuff. Take double the money in your hand and take back in your hand the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. What's he doing here? That the money was legit? Okay. What else? Anybody else? You guys are quiet tonight. Okay. 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 Right. So what's he doing here by doing this? He's buttering it up, didn't he? What? Isn't this the old person coming back out again? What? Don't you remember he did this before? What? That's right. For who? For his brother. He's buttering it up. He's softening him up, right? This isn't because he's trying to do something, special. No, he's doing this in his own actions, his own will, of trying to butter him up, trying to soften him up, right? And so he says, go and take all this stuff. And we know he doesn't have to do this, right? Take your brother also, and arise and go back to the man. And may God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may release your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved, I am bereaved. Finally, God comes into the mix, right? May God bless you. Why didn't this happen before? Why didn't he do this before? Why did it take all the way to having nothing again? From what's happening now, he had a plan? Okay. You notice his name is Israel here now, right? Now he's more spiritual. Isn't it? Or before it wasn't Israel, right? It was Jacob. The chapter before, right? Isn't it like you and me to react in the flesh before we react in the spiritual? Isn't it like us to try to take things into our own hands first, thinking we can do it, we can take it on, instead of praying to God for mercy? A lot of times we have to go through some things. We have to hit rock bottom again. He's got no food. And you know, to get your attention, God doesn't mind you going through some things. To get you on your knees, where we should start from the beginning, right? They could have been eating a long time ago, almost half a year. But that old fear, that old man, what happened to my son years ago could happen again. That old fear comes and grips us, doesn't it? So the men took that present and Benjamin, and they took double money in their hand, and arose and went down to Egypt, and they stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of the house, of his house, "Take these men to my house and slaughter an animal and make ready, for these men will dine with me at noon. Then the man did as Joseph ordered, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. Now the men were afraid. Why are they afraid? Because they were brought into Joseph's house. They said, "It is because of the money which was returned in our sacks the first time that we are brought in, so that he may make a case against us and seize us to take us as slaves with our donkeys." Still worried about their possessions, aren't they? Animals. You know, who cares if they take your donkey if they slave you anyways? All right? Yeah. But so many times we let the devil come in and play with our minds, don't we? Why is he doing this? Why are they doing that? A legitimate fear. The unknown. Yeah, it's true. The unknown. But why, like what Justin had said, why in his own house? Wouldn't have he done it openly? I don't know. I can't tell you I wouldn't be fearful either. But somewhere you got to believe God, right? When they drew near to the steward of Joseph's house, they talked with him at the door of the house and said, "O sir, we indeed came down the first time to buy food. But it happened when we came to encamp that we opened our sacks, and there each man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. So we have brought it back in our hand, and we have brought down other money in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks." Okay, so they're legitimately saying, you know, we don't know how this happened, right? We brought money for the grain, we got the grain, and we got our money back. And they're being honest and upfront. That's a good quality, right? You should be honest and upfront. Being honest with people. The more we're honest with people, the more they're up to helping us, right? And this is what he says. But he said, "Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money." Then he brought Simeon out to them. So he's basically saying, I received your money. I personally received your money. I know you gave me the money. I know you bought it. But you know what? God has blessed you. Are you willing to testify the truth, even when you think it might get you in trouble? Are you willing to testify the truth of what God's done? That God could get the glory. God's glorified right here. So the man brought the men into Joseph's house, gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys feed. Then they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they would be eating bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. Then he asked them about their well-being, and said, "Is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he alive?" And they answered, "Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive." And they bowed their heads down and prostrated themselves. Twice they did this. Joseph's dream had come true 3 different times, didn't it? What has God shown you? It will happen. It will come through. Not once, not twice, but 3 times over it could come true. Because God is faithful. Amen. That's right. Speak on God's promises. I remember when I had my business, that we had an account. We were praying and different things, and so we went up to conference and in Prescott, and we ended up getting the account. And the guy said, "Hey, I want to sign." I said, "Well, I'm not going to be back till Saturday." We had given an offering. We had believed God and gone in faith, and so when we came back from then, he met me on a Saturday, which his office was closed. He was a kid doctor, a pediatric doctor, pediatric office. And so he had come down and met me, and he had signed the document. Well, come to find that I think it was like the agreement was maybe $500-600 or something. Come to find out that the servers that they had were more, and so that account became $1,000 account a month, just like that. Then they had a merger. They were Rainbow Pediatrics. They had a merger with Bayless, became Bayless Pediatrics. And I remember praying and crying out to God because Bayless already had a contract with another IT company. And I remember praying and saying, "God, you gave me this. Why would you take it away?" Standing on God's promise. And they ended up getting rid of the other IT company and bringing us on, and that $1,000 contract became a $4,000 contract a month. Because that's how God works. When you're faithful, when you believe in Him and you stand on His promises, He fights for you and He comes through. Several times over. But do you believe it? Do you get it once and then all of a sudden something happens and you give up? Or do you stand on God's truth and God's promise that He gave it to you? And I understand, nothing lasts forever. I don't have my business anymore. We lost that client when I left. I understand, nothing happens forever. But God will fight for you. Then he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Now his heart yearned for his brother. So Joseph made haste and sought somewhere to weep. And he went into his chamber and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out, and he restrained himself and said, "Serve the bread. It'd been years. Yeah. Yeah, many scholars say that he would have been born before they sold him off. And he had so much compassion and he weeps. So they set him a place by himself, and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews, for it was an abomination to the Egyptians. They sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked in astonishment at one another. Okay. Joseph is sitting by himself. No doubt he probably would have, because he's not going to sit with the servants. He's second in command. He would have had his own table. Right? Then you have the Egyptians. They're going to sit by themselves. So you got the servants' table, you got the master's table, you got the servants' table. And then he's got the table with his brothers, which would have been the Hebrews' table at this point. Okay, so he's keeping this facade, isn't he? Because he could have ate with his brothers because he's a Hebrew. Right? And they place it. So it would be like you have a placemat. Adam sits here, Beth sits there, Tatum sits there. You know. And they look at each other in astonishment. How in the world would they have known the oldest from the youngest? It's God. Well, Joseph knew, didn't he? And they look at each other in astonishment. You have to remember these. There's 11 of them now, right? And they're in order, and they're from 4 different women. Remember? You got Leah, you got Rachel, you got Leah's handmaid, Rachel's handmaid. Remember? They're all from 4 different women. I mean, the chances of them just getting this right, and they still got no clue. Like, you know, you think maybe you start putting 2 and 2 together here. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Joseph? Yeah, you would think so. But you can tell he's keeping this up. He's keeping this facade up, too. And no doubt he would have been using an interpreter all through this right here. Right? And so they look at each other in astonishment at one another. Then he took servings, then he took servings to them before him. But Benjamin, his serving, was 5 times as much as any of theirs. So they drank and were merry with him. Okay. Imagine this. You got these 3 different tables. Everybody's eating. Joseph's the master. He's got all this food. The servants are definitely not eating from Joseph's table, but he's going to feed the Hebrews from his table. Okay? And when you feed somebody a double portion, that means they are a person of honor. Okay? And when he's fed 5 times, this is somebody of like a royalty. This is somebody very, very high up. Why would Joseph do this? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. The least shall be the greatest? Okay. Anybody else? One of the ones that didn't betray? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Judah stands up here, right? To his father. And he's saying, look, I'm going to take, put him with me. I'm going to take ownership, right? This is the first time we see Judah's character, don't we? Finally, his character is coming out here. He's going to stand up for what's right. It's going to be for him. It's going to be for his family, his brothers, his children. His character is finally coming out here. This would be a test of the brothers' character. Did they treat Benjamin like they treated Joseph? Did they get jealous that Benjamin got more than they did? Or has this passed now? And so he is testing them. He's testing their character, their heart, and where they're at. And they obviously passed, didn't they? Because it's finally, after so many years, it's not about them anymore, is it? It's not about them. And we saw before the burden that they carried for what they did to their brother. Finally built some character in them, didn't it? Do you allow the past, your past mistakes, to learn from them, to build character in who you are today? Do you learn from your past mistakes? Faults, failures? Say, I'm not going to be like that anymore. I'm not going to be that person anymore. I don't care. It's not about me. How many know when we were younger, it was all about us, wasn't it? But life throws things at us. Do we learn from them? Some people don't. Do we learn from them? Do we let it build us and make us something better